So ownership, what I have learned is comes from clarity, trust, and accountability. Once I was super clear on communicating effectively, I ended up releasing the reins, trusting that individual, and then we held each other accountable.
Niche down. Who's the person you really want to attract? And then speak to that person in every single way that would matter to you. Because if it matters to you, it's going to matter to them. You just got to step out from behind your desk of your business and sit with empathy where they are and what they're faced with in your industry, and then speak to what matters to them.
I stopped being the business and I created a business.
If you're able to take care of customers for 80 hours a week, you can take 2 hours out of your week to surround yourself around just a handful of good people that are going to test you. They're going to ask you the hard questions. That's where you need to be.
Welcome back to the Level Up and Live podcast, part 2 of our entrepreneur panel. I'm your host, Sean Meyers, and today I'm joined by our Level Up and Live leadership team, Michael David Reilly, aka the MD Brand Doctor, Cody Schneider, owner of Aquarium Maintenance, and Micah Haarhoff, owner of Revolution Power Sports. These men are building businesses, leading teams, and doing the hard work of designing lives they don't grow to hate. Today, we're diving deeper into your questions around leadership, growth, pressure, and next level execution. Guys, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us, brother.
Thanks for having us.
Let's go. Well, let's dive into it. So question number 8 on part 2 of the Q&A. How do you build a team that actually takes ownership in what they do? It's a great question.
I think it all starts with the leader. What are you hiring for? And then what are you setting as far as your mission and your vision? That has to be very clear in the very beginning. And I would say with anything, when you're building something, it's all about the foundation, how you started out as the owner of that company. I would start there. And the more and more you see people lean in, the more you can literally see it when you're being the leader that you need to be for your company. Then in return, what ends up happening is you actually see the people that are leaning in. And those are the ones that you continue to lean into to lead them and guide them into their best position and potential for them. Because everybody's different. Everybody has different assets to them and qualities to them that they can bring to the table. I've had personally people in the wrong seat. They were great people, but until I started leaning into them and realizing what they were actually wanting by asking questions, by, again, leaning in, they started leaning back into me. I was like, oh, you know what? He would do way better in this side of things than where we've had him for the last year. That's why he's so unhappy. That's why. So I think it's a big part in being a good leader is leaning into your employees. And then again, setting that foundation in the beginning that you're both on the same page of where that mission and vision of the company is going and growing to.
That's really good. Yeah, I would agree with all that. And then one of the things that I love to do is I hire for character, also known as attitude, and coach for skill. So a lot of the individuals that I have teamed up with in the last 10 years of this entrepreneur journey is their attitude. When I have hired outside of that, it's always blown back in my face. They've always either left, we've either clashed, we haven't seen eye to eye. It just caused frustration, and we just weren't on the same page. Once I started hiring for that attitude and that character, and then I started coaching for that skill, man, that's when everything changed. The second note that I made here was once I was able to look the man in the mirror, which is myself, I didn't know what that actual character looked like. Who did I want on the team? Well, I didn't know. What you don't know is what you don't know, because I didn't look inward first. So ownership, what I have learned comes from clarity, trust, and accountability. Once I was super clear on communicating effectively, I ended up releasing the reins, trusting that individual, and then we held each other accountable. Whether that's at Level Up and Live, the insurance company, with those 3 things, it creates that ownership. Early stages of entrepreneurship, everything ran through me. And what I realized was the system was actually broken because I was the bottleneck in that and not the people. So if you want people taking ownership, I would just encourage those 3 things. Hire for character, coach for skill. Ownership comes from clarity, trust, and accountability. And then if everything's running through you, the system's broken, look inward and look at yourself in the mirror.
I'll jump on. For me, what I've noticed is people take ownership when they know exactly what winning looks like and they feel supported to hit that. And like, so for me, it's SOPs and KPIs. So you have a very clear, it's clarity and accountability is what it comes down to. Very clear on what winning in your role looks like. And then you let them run it. I point the vision and trust them to, drive it, to take us there.
That's really good. MD, any final thoughts before we roll into the next question?
Yeah, I see with most people, if you want them to take ownership, allow them to have the reins to actually have ownership on something that aligns with their strengths. Too often I see, and maybe in newer entrepreneurship, in that journey, it's a lot of micromanagement because like you said, Sean, you become the bottleneck and you haven't realized it yet. And attitude is reflective of leadership. So you'll notice that tendency in your team because they're going to mirror that in you. So when you finally are able to take a step back and really focus on what's the outcome you want, not really worry about how a particular person is going to go about it, as long as, again, the vision is aligned, but you give them the opportunities to own things in small ways so that they also build their own self-confidence in you as the business owner, but also in their own capability that they're a part of a team that they can contribute. Once they begin to feel that their contributions actually have value and they matter, they'll begin to want to take ownership of more things. So it's kind of baby steps.
Yeah.
I will say we design our pay plans with ownership in mind. So they're very goal-based and growth-based, right? So that tends to help.
It's really good. Question number 9. Marketing has changed. What should businesses stop and start doing? So one of the things that I had made a note on was I see a lot of businesses out there that really hide behind logos and waiting on just referrals. And we didn't necessarily hide behind the logos early and often because we didn't even have a logo. we were just trying to generate as much as possible customer referrals and cross-selling, etc. And once I started realizing, I was like, all right, well, what do I need to do outside of a logo and waiting on referrals? And I needed to start documenting my journey. Well, what did that look like? I needed to show my face more. I needed to tell customer stories. I needed to share their testimonies on what they were going through, whether this was reviews, having them do videos, sharing their authentic experience, whether that's at Level Up and Live or the insurance company. And once we started doing that, we started building momentum and traction of being the brand guy, whether that was insurance. And I haven't probably done a quote in my insurance company in 5+ years, but people still reach out to me for insurance. How is that possible? Because I was documenting the journey of being the insurance guy since 2015. We would do jump roping. We'd be in your face. We'd be doing water bottles. How much could we chug in 3 minutes? Take your guess below. It had nothing to do with insurance, but I started documenting the journey of building the insurance company. And it was just all over the place. And then I learned this actually from MD. Shout out to Matt Kalusic and some of the other brilliant minds that I have brought into my life. They told me they basically, it was like a ton of bricks. They're like, they didn't tell me this specifically, but they said this passively. They're like, you need to stop posting randomly without a strategy. So that's when I was like, all right, well, then I'm going to stay in my lane and I'm going to bring you guys on.
The biggest setback that I find, especially in the past 5 years, was the advent of, and like you said, Sean, documentation of really letting people in on the journey. And because for so long, small businesses specifically had this beacon of wanting to be $1 billion brand. So they kind of mimicked everything. And it was all about being polished. It was all about status and perception. Well, as things have shifted where we really want more of an authentic connection with the people behind a business, and not necessarily that you need to entertain me and flip bottles every single day, but allow me to connect on a human level, because I'm going to do business with somebody. We would rather do business with somebody that we are familiar with and that we kind of like. Well, you're not going to be likable because of a 30-second elevator pitch. You're going to be likable because there's something about who you are as a business owner and what your business is about that is just, it is entertaining, but it's also helpful. It's given me the idea of having to make a better educated buying decision without selling me on a pitch or a hack or a psychological trick. It feels authentic. But for most businesses in this day and age where it's about being authentic is I wish people would stop worrying about the criticism that you may get from the very people that would never do business with you in the first place.
Yes. Yes. Amen.
Because
well
they put
said.
that 1% of people as the ones that control what you're going to say to the 99% that would love you if you would just get through that curtain and let go. So that's what I wish people would stop doing and then start really executing on the people that would love to do business with them. They just don't know who they are yet. And so lean into that.
Yeah.
Oof, that was good.
MD, I'm curious, with somebody listening to this, business owner, leader, they're like, okay, we get it. We need to stop hiding behind our logos, waiting on just referrals to come in, our phones to start ringing. Stop posting randomly like Sean used to without any kind of strategy. What would be that one action step that you would give them going into 2026 that they could start doing in their business?
Have a clear picture of who do you really want to attract? Where do they live? What do they do? What is it about their lifestyle that really aligns with you and what you do? Understand, where do they struggle? Where do they win? What do they enjoy doing in life? And find out kind of the profile of what this person would look like, and then align with them. Speak to the things that they need to know that most people are not sharing to help them get down the path of going, well, there's a lot. I know I want to get to where it is that you offer what you do, but I've got some red flags from either my own experience or the experiences of others. And that's the real competition. So how do I help reduce the red flags, turn them into green flags in a very authentic way that's not salesy? What would I need to hear to help me get down that pathway? If you can finally begin to really zero in on that, rather than trying to just be everything to everybody, niche down. Who's the person you really want to attract? And then speak to that person in every single way that would matter to you. Because if it matters to you, it's going to matter to them. You just got to step out from behind your desk of your business and sit with empathy where they are and what they're faced with in your industry, and then speak to what matters to them. Once you start doing that, it's going to get very clear. It'll get uncomfortable because we make the mistake. We think we have to say everything to everybody, but it's not. Niche down, get very specific. And once you do, you're going to realize you're going to have a lot more clarity in the direction of your marketing communication.
It's really good. Any other final thoughts, Cody, Micah, before we roll on?
Yeah, I'll jump in real quick. For us, there's three kinds of marketing. You have your lead generation, which is paid ads, Facebook, Google, whatever. You pay money and you get a lead in return, right? Then you have branding, which is like the wrap trucks, the billboards, all the different things people see. And then you have community involvement, where you're actually out in the community doing things. People see you there. All of that pairs with lead generation, but you have to have all three, right? And what happens is somebody searches on Google power sports near me, and our logo pops up and 500 other companies pop up, but they've seen me in the community. They've driven past my billboard. They see the wrap truck, maybe even some paid ads and whatnot. And it all circles around back to the first source of contact, right? So we strategize all three of those. And then the other thing I see people do that they need to stop doing is they don't post consistently. As soon as sales get slow, they start marketing. And right now, we've been marketing for, December is our slowest time of the year, and we've been marketing for December for the last 4 months, right? We don't wait till it gets slow and then start marketing for it. And I think I see that a lot. As soon as sales get slow or something slow or whatever, then we start marketing, when we really should be just very consistently marketing in that way.
That's really good. Number 10, when revenue plateaus, what broke you through? It's a good question. Short and sweet. So I'll go first. So for us, insurance company, about 5 to 7 years in, revenue plateaued for 12 to 18 months. And I had hit all my goals. I had hit all my aspirations, all my dreams that I had set out to do within that 8 years. And I picked my head up and I realized that we were contracting. We were just plateauing year or month after month, year. And then it got into that 2-year mark. And I wasn't at that point. I was like, all right, well, I hit my threshold of why am I doing this when I turned 34 years of age. And so to answer the question of what broke me through that was I stopped focusing on the money and I started focusing on the leader, myself, looking inward. And the reason the revenue plateaued is because I plateaued. Because I wasn't growing as a leader. I was hitting my capacity and bandwidth of what got me to where I was 5 years in business. And one of the things that I had learned and still learning being a student of the game is what gets you to where you are today in your business and in your personal life, in your other health, relationships, spirituality, and in your business and in your revenue will not get you to where you want to go, or will not get you to that next level. So you have to hire coaches. You have to hire mentors. You have to you have to join mastermind groups because you have to expand your capacity, your bandwidth, your mindsets. You have to take extreme ownership in what you're doing. You have to hold yourself to higher standards. You have to have people holding you to higher standards. I stopped blaming the market and I looked at the man in the mirror. It was an invitation for me to level up my leadership. And ever since I've done that here in the last 3 years, what's the byproduct of that? I provided more money, or I provided more value to my market, to my team, and to my community. And the byproduct of that is monetary value. So the more people you help, your team members, your community, the more the byproduct of that is more money. So those are my thoughts.
When revenue flattened out for me, I was doing everything myself, right? And I reached a cap where I could do 20-hour days and it wouldn't really change much, right? So I think for me, I had to let go of the belief that everything had to go through me and actually start delegating and buying my time back to actually grow, right? Because when you get burned out or something happens to you or you got life going on or whatever else, your business is directly affected unless you have people and process in place to where it doesn't. And I think that's where I found myself just wanting to do everything, because, if you want something done right, do it yourself, right? That's the common belief. So,
or more or less, it's how can I train somebody to do it better than you?
Well, no, Sean actually got me on the 80% done by someone else is 100% awesome. So.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well said.
But I stopped being the business and I created a business is essentially what happened there.
A lot of it too is just getting out of your own way. We can often be our biggest stumbling block is we've kind of all, I think that's the common theme here. But a lot of, and I see this with a lot of startups and entrepreneurs when they're getting into business, they are stuck in survival mode. They're focused on the fires directly in front of them without planning on growth beyond them. And I've seen people that have 8-figure companies that are stuck in this mode too, and they can't seem to get past that threshold because they're not even looking beyond the fires directly in front of them. A lot of that's going to be due to proximity. Sean, you touched on this. Who are you around? Who are the people that are around you directly that have gone beyond those fires directly in front of them? Because that proximity, that knowledge, that wisdom, that experience does influence you. And so, whether it's the coaching, the mentor, the mastermind you're a part of, being around people that are further down the runway than you are is going to show you that you're not looking as far as you could be, which is then going to get you mentally out of the place of survival to take a breath. And like Micah just mentioned, where 80% done by somebody else is 100% awesome, is when you begin to trust the fact that it no longer has to depend on you to survive, but it is dependent upon you to thrive. That's when you begin to look beyond the fire and start looking at the runway that you need to be building based on clarity of where you want to go. But this is directly proportional to the quality of people in your circle.
100%.
Amen.
I love it.
Coney, any final thoughts before we roll to number 11?
And, I feel like Micah and I have been kind of talking about this, and it goes for all aspects of our life, and it's building the baseline, right? Especially in those moments that we're frustrated and we're finding that things are just plateaued. Well, what are you doing as the individual? A lot of times it's literally, like you said, looking inward, because are you truly building you, or are you being consumed and you're being ran by the business instead of running the business? Because from my experience, that's exactly when I would feel those things. I was, again, being ran by the business instead of running it. So building your baseline, hanging out with the right people, and then holding yourself accountable to show up on a weekly basis. That's another thing that I believe in. I've been in groups that were bi-weekly and monthly meetups. And the truth is, if you're only seeing a person 12 times a year, or a group of people, and that's the only time that they're questioning you or holding you accountable to something, it's you're not going to grow at the rate that most of us entrepreneurs want to grow at. So a weekly basis, holding yourself accountable, surrounding yourself around good people daily if possible. But if at minimum, because I know you can feel alone as an entrepreneur, it's very important. And your time is a huge thing. Once a week, anyone can make happen. You can plug yourself in somewhere for an hour, 2 hours a week and make that happen. I assure you, if you're able to take care of customers for 80 hours a week, you can take 2 hours out of your week to surround yourself around just a handful of good people that are going to test you. They're going to ask you the hard questions. That's where you need to be. I think that's the secret sauce to running a business and not feeling isolated. Because I know every person I've ever talked to that's owned a business has went through that phase. So building the baseline.
That's good. That's really good.
Really good, Cody. Question number 11. If a business is struggling, what should be fixed first? It's kind of an open question, open-ended question.
That is, I was about to say, in what area, right? Because there's 100 different areas to struggle in. I think it kind of goes back to what I was just saying. It goes back to the person. If you're struggling, then you need to stare it down. You need to see what it is that you're really struggling with. Again, from my experience, when I think I'm struggling with something, it's actually a little bit deeper or a little further back than what I was seeing in front of me right then because I was blinded. So I love the stare down method. Something's affecting you or bothering you, you need to stare it down, write it down, journal, and you'll slowly figure it out for yourself what that problem is. Or
is there a second part to that question?
It feels like there is.
Yeah.
I have a different question written down.
What's your question?
I have, if a business is struggling, what should the owner focus on first? Sales, systems, people, or marketing? And I formatted my answer based on that. So.
Okay. What's your answer?
Systems first, then the people running the system, then sales, and then you add fuel with marketing. I think most people try to fix the actual system of low revenue or no sales or this or that, rather than the structure. And what you'll run into, and actually what we're running into right now, if somebody dumped 100 new units on our back door, I don't have the infrastructure and the process to be able to support that much influx in sales. So what's happening when you do, let's say your marketing does hit, or you get blown up with sales or whatever else. Well, now you create a lot of unnecessary stress within the company and people leave. And, there's all these issues because you can't handle that amount of sales because you don't have the systems to support that. So for me, it goes back to systems first on a practical scale. Of course, the leader has to be working on himself before anything, right? And that's going to slow down a lot of issues as well. If you are working on yourself, you have the bandwidth, to handle a lot of things that come up.
So, Micah, what if somebody's listening to this and they're going, okay, well, I have the systems and I'm an expert in systems. I've created all the SOPs, but I feel like I have the wrong people in the wrong seats. What would you tell that person that has really good systems if systems are first?
Well, so like for us, we hire based on process. We're a process-driven culture. Right. And so everybody goes through a filter when there is an issue of, is it a people or a process problem? Right. Because we have the process, you're hired to follow the process. And, right person, wrong seat is a real thing, so you can either, put somebody in another seat, or sometimes they aren't the right fit for your company. Right. I can hire the best person with the best culture, and it is the wrong seat for them. For us, we hire very heavily on coachable people, but, it goes back to serving them. This may not be something that, lights them up. I'm trying to design a life that I want to live, and, I want them to do the same thing. And that may not be with me,
That's really good. Yeah. From my experience, if a business is struggling, just the generic question, and then breaking that down, I really like what you said, Micah, from my experience, it's the people. It really comes down to the people. You can have the systems, you can have good systems all day long, but the wrong people in the wrong seats will break those good systems. So for me, it's people first. So if the business is struggling, one, look at yourself in the mirror as the leader, and then look at your people. Do I have the right person in the wrong seat, or do I have the wrong person in the right seat? And once you look at that first, And then you have the right person in the right seat that's capitalizing, executing the systems, sales and marketing. Man, that's where you really get that unstoppable machine from my experience. And that's can be very challenging. So I would look at people first.
Gold.
Anybody else, Cody, MD?
The point I would make is it's very easy to get razor focused and get completely consumed by the problem itself. And you can get stuck pointing the finger, blaming, how did this happen? Why did this happen? And you kind of spiral out of it. One of the greatest ways to help you get out of the problem and start looking at the solution is stop looking for blame and the real cause and look at, okay, what's the solution that we can actually implement? So again, is it a personnel problem? Is it a process problem? I just see a lot of people get stuck in pointing blame and focusing on the problem itself rather than thinking about, okay, this problem did occur. Okay, now what? What do we do now? Because this could be a growth moment. It could be a process that's now exposed that isn't working like you said earlier, Sean. What got us here may not get us there, to tomorrow. Maybe we've just exhausted the existing process that we initially built. Okay, well, that's not a problem. Let's pivot. Let's adapt. Being adaptable through those changes, because it could be a growth pain. It could be a number of reasons, but not to focus on the problem itself, because you will get stuck and it will actually magnify and become a much bigger issue than what it originally started.
And I would just add to this, and we'll go on to the next one, is talk about it. A lot of times, I think we've all done this, is we've isolated ourselves. We're like, we're the only ones in this world that has faced this problem and we're struggling.
Yeah.
That's not true. When you get out of isolation and then you go talk to a man like Cody Schneider, MD, Micah Haarhoff, and a community of like-minded individuals, and you get that perspective, that one little nugget, that one little mustard seed in perspective, like, oh, I am not alone. My business is not the only one struggling in marketing, advertising, finances, people.
Yep.
When you try to do it on your own and you focus on the problem, that's going to equal what MD just said, is that problem is going to magnify. How are we able to speak to that? Because we've all been there. You're not alone. Number 12, how do you stay grounded spiritually, mentally, and emotionally when the pressure of leadership and ownership gets overwhelming?
Yeah, it really comes down to, again, the leader, right? If I'm not taking care of myself every single day, no matter how hard my day is, I'm a huge believer in taking care of the mind, body, and spirit. And it's grown so much that it started out with 5-10 minutes a day on each thing, right? I would just jot down ideas of how I could take care of my mind, how I could take care of my body, how I could take care of my spiritual well-being. I started very small. And over the years, I'm to a point where I spend almost an hour a day now on those things. So I'm spending 3 hours a day taking care of my mind, body, and spirit. And each day can look a little different, but it's structured. I'm a huge believer in structuring, because that's when things get chaotic. You go back to your structure, and the structure is proven, at least for me, right? For years and years, decades now. We're getting up there. You accumulate all these things and these tools, and you got to keep using them no matter how hard your day is. If, again, I don't go meditate, I love meditation. If I don't meditate, I'm starting to consume all of these things that have laid out before me. And instead, I'm able to accept them, see what's in my control what I can, and then the rest is let go or put into somebody else's control because it's theirs. So I would highly recommend that should be your number one. That's priority. And then I'm a believer too. So your relationship with God is very important. And I know as an entrepreneur, we can become so consumed with taking care of our family, because here on earth, it's so important, right? And these people depend on you to feed them. And again, you get consumed in taking care of the business, taking care of your family, and you forget about yourself. And it's the most important thing, because again, if you've got an empty cup, it's very hard to pour from. It's hard to feed your kid the best with knowledge and true leadership and guidance and love if your cup's empty. But if you continue to remain filling your cup, man, it is a beautiful life. Everything can hit you from every angle. And yeah, we have rough days, but I can take a deep breath and go, I know I'm good. It's okay, because I stick with my core values of taking care of myself, mind, body, and spirit. And I highly suggest it for anyone. And I hear it all the time. I don't have time for that. You're right. You're speaking that you don't have the time. You are 100% correct. However, you can change that. And I know you can, because I was that guy working 20 hours out of the 24 hours a day and did it for 17 years of my life. And I assure you, the moment that I finally snapped and hired a coach, and he made me realize how important it is to educate yourself, to take care of yourself. And you start combining all that together, it's a recipe of, in my eyes, happiness. Like, that's true happiness. It's not about owning something. It's not about getting something. It's truly being at peace with yourself.
That's really good, Cody. And man, the whole time that you're speaking, I couldn't agree with you more. I feel like that's why we're so in sync and in alignment, and we want the people around us to experience the same groundedness in spiritual, mentally, and emotionally. And I used to be probably 5 to 6 years in business. Business was my number one priority. I was trying to survive. And then there was a huge gap. There was a huge gap in my health and marriage and faith. So the question, how do you stay grounded spiritually, mentally, emotionally? I've been down the road where I tried to focus on the opposite of what Cody's talking about. What we're talking about here today is called the non-negotiables. It's next to impossible. It's impossible to stay grounded spiritually, mentally, and emotionally if you don't have these non-negotiables that I believe is having faith first. Like, what does that look like in your relationship? I don't know your religion, but with our Lord and Savior, God. And then for me, it's marriage. If you're not in alignment with your spouse, and you don't have the support of your husband or spouse, good luck. You will not be grounded in spirituality. And then your third is health. If you don't have your health, if we're sick, or if we have a disease, or we don't feel good, if there's fatigue, brain fog, the only goal that you have is to get healthy. That all falls to number 4, number 5, number 6. Because if you work on these 3 things of staying grounded spiritually, mentally, and emotionally, what is that? That's going to, the byproduct of that is you're going to make more money. Your business is going to be thriving. People will want to be around you. People will want to follow you. People will want to work for you. People will want to go to war for you if you focus on those 3 things, not the other way around. So I don't lead alone. Community, plug yourself into mastermind, making sure you're getting challenged there, because you're human being and it's human nature to tend to go back to isolation. So making sure you're being held accountable to higher standards, because when I'm not grounded, Cody, you know this, everything I do feels heavy and like I'm doing it alone in isolation. And I do not want to go down that road. That's the guy that I want to kill. So how do you stay grounded spiritually, mentally, emotionally? You have these non-negotiables. Those are my thoughts.
Oh, I love how passionate you just were. You could tell that it just fuels you, right? And it's like for me, it took over a decade to finally start implementing those things, right? But I just started small. That's all I did. Like, so many people, I was the same guy, right? Like, I'd spend 10 minutes to meditate and my mind was racing in 100 different places, right? But over 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, I'm 5+ years of doing this now. It's incredible. Again, it makes you realize that you're not that important, like, it's okay. Like, it's okay. Everything will always be okay. It's who you're becoming in that journey. And I love, Sean, you just got me all fired up, man. Because the passion, like, you felt that pain too, right? Yeah. Just as I have, just as every business owner out there has felt it to some degree. And it's not if, but when it's going to happen to them. Yep. And it's like, you can really help yourself not get that deep into it, like you and I probably have, by implementing these things right away. Right? It's like, I do need to take care of the mind, body, and soul. Yeah, everyone does. I don't care what position or who you are on this earth. You should be taking care of those things, entrepreneur or not.
Yeah, agreed.
Well, the most consistent thing is going to be change, right? Especially in entrepreneurship. And being grounded is, most people are grounded into things that are the most inconsistent. They're grounded on conditions. They're grounded in emotions. And so when things don't go according to plan, they get sideways because they're not anchored in the things that are actually consistent. That is God, and that's knowing things are going to change and things are going to be hard. This is where I feel we're in an age of where optimism, people misunderstand. It's not about showing up and being excited and happy and smiling and laughing every day. It's the understanding that things are going to be brighter and better down the road because you're learning today with whatever's happening. The thing that, as a triathlete, as a cyclist and competitive athlete, the majority of my life, there were so many people that, hey, did you ride last week? No, it was raining and it was super windy. What? I was training regardless of conditions. That was the consistent thing for me. If it was windy, I'm going to start leaning into the wind and doing headwind training. That means there's going to be an amazing tailwind when I get home. If it's raining, well, I'm not going to swim at the lake. I'm going to go swim at the indoor pool. Well, if it's torrential rain, well, outside, then I'm going to run on my treadmill, ride on my indoor trainer. And then when the weather's better, I'm going to be training outside. Conditions did not dictate what I was going to be doing.
Yes.
Most people are being led by how they feel and conditions to where it's just perfect to be able to give what they want. That's not being grounded. You're being led by conditions you can't control. So to be truly grounded, to understand that all the adversity you're going to face, it doesn't matter how you feel. That's when you lean in, because that's when you grow. That's when you depend on God and realize that is the ultimate anchor. He is going to be giving you strength when you don't have it. So that means you just keep going. Yes. Because when you are done, when your tank is empty, that's when God goes, I got you. That's why you have a mastermind. That's why you have a circle of people around you, because when you are not able to carry, that's when the people around you go, I got you. I'm here to help you. What can I do for you today that can help you see tomorrow and get the optimism? Being grounded is not being happy and excited all the time. And it's not when things are predictable. Being grounded is knowing it's going to get better. And you're grounded in the fact that the things that are the most consistent is what keeps you, it's where you put your focus, but you just keep going. That's how you find yourself being grounded.
I love it. I've fallen in love with who I'm becoming through it, right? Mm-hmm. And when you're grounded, you actually are able to see that. You're actually able to go, wow, this is what I needed to go through to reach that aspiration or dream that I've been chasing, right? And that's something in these last couple of years I've realized. And I think I finally figured out what all these other guys that I looked up to were saying, like, fall in love with the process. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? How do you fall in love with stressing and worrying about your employees showing up on time and all the things that come with it? It's falling in love with the process because you're keeping yourself grounded enough to be able to visually see it unfold. So,
well, beautiful guys, we are out of time again.
Crazy.
So fast. So fast.
I just want our listeners and audience and followers, everybody and our viewers on YouTube to take one applicable step today. And from all of our experiences and all of our journey of life, and to take one action step in your own life, because you have the power within you to go out and do these things. I can't speak for these other men, but I'm sure they can say something similar. I'm just a regular dude. I was a C student in high school, barely passed, didn't have a clue about life. And I just kept putting one foot in front of the other. I just kept putting in the work, and where everything really took off was surrounding myself with other men like Cody, MD, and Micah that are going to really raise the standards. So if you feel like you're doing things alone, you have the power within you to get outside of that. Reach out to one of us. I know these men, they'd be happy to jump on a phone call with you, do some coffee, do some lunches, send us a direct message, an email, whatever it takes. Take that one next step, because I assure you, I guarantee you, once you do, you will be glad you did. And huge thank you to our leadership panel. Thank you for saying, MD, Cody, and Micah, for being on the podcast today. I mean, your time is valuable. You guys are busy men. So I really appreciate you guys spending 45 minutes with us today and really pouring in the value and multiplying the impact in our community and in our team. I know a lot of our friends, our family, our community is going to be listening to this. So I really appreciate you for pouring into the community today, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us, brother.
100%.
And to everyone listening, thank you for leaning in and asking the real questions. Continue that. Send us more questions. We love it. We love answering these questions. We're going to continue, hopefully, part 3. And if we get more questions going into January of 2026. So if you've got more, keep sending them in. We're building this thing together. Until next time, keep leveling up and keep living with intention. Thanks again, guys.